Hey everyone, welcome to this edition of Q&A here with the Halifax Thunderbirds. I'm Pete Dalliday, play-by-play announcer, joined by my good pal Pat Gregoire. Gregor, how you doing, man?
It's good, buddy. Now that we're chatting, we had the draft last week. It's starting to really feel like lacrosse season's coming soon, hopefully. But when you're talking about real lacrosse news, it's always exciting. And of course, it's always exciting when we get to chat too, Pete.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start with the draft. We'll work maybe backwards because it's fresh in our minds. First of all, great job on the draft, doing the coverage there at the draft party. That was fantastic. And the Halifax Thunderbirds got real big real early in the draft.
Absolutely. I mean, and they go off the board, if you will,
Yeah.
the guy that not too many of the experts maybe thought were going to go in the first round. But the Halifax Thunderbirds go out and get Ethan Riggs, a big, huge body on the defensive side of the floor. This is a guy that I had an opportunity to talk with, Billy D. Smith, the defensive coach of this team. And he said, look, listen, this guy reminds me a lot of Graham Hossack. And I mean, when you put that name out there, that's obviously means that you think pretty highly of the guy. He said maybe not as much offensive upside as we've seen from Graham Hossack, but as you know, we really have seen Hossack turn more of his transition game and become more offensively in the last couple of years. So I think that Riggs he's going to be a guy that has a ton of potential, a high ceiling. He's going to be able to play right away. But it's really the potential and the athletic ability and the IQ and that real high ceiling, as I mentioned, that really enticed Halifax to go and grab him off the board there with the first pick. But the big splash for me was going out and getting Tyson Bell from the Calgary Roughnecks with with a couple of picks there. So he's a guy that you love to have on your team and you absolutely hate to play against. Talking to a lot of guys on the Thunderbirds, they're real happy they don't have to face him. He's a guy that's going to hack you, whack you, and play really hard against. But his big game, or his big aspect of the game, I should say, is his speed and his effectiveness in transition. He's an absolute animal on loose balls. So you add in a player like that to an already defensive powerhouse in the Thunderbirds, they're going to be very deadly when it comes next year in the nest.
Yeah, absolutely. It was last, but certainly not least. Tell us a little bit about the T-Birds' last pick. The video of the selection was fantastic. Just a great moment overall.
Yeah, Dartmouth's very own Brett Draper. Probably the best feel-good story of this entire draft. He's a guy that played Junior A lacrosse in Halifax, in Dartmouth, in the East Coast Junior A League. He then goes out to Orangeville, plays a little bit of Junior B ball. He was actually set to play some Junior A this year with the Northmen, but obviously COVID-19 pausing that season. So this is a guy that it's not just a feel-good story, a PR move, selecting the hometown guy. This is a guy that has a lot of upside. He's a tremendous athlete. The sky's the limit with this kid, and he's maybe not going to make the team this year, but he's a guy that's going to be in this system. He's going to be around the team for a long time, and I think it just goes to show you how much growth there is in Nova Scotia. A guy, picked up by his hometown team, and I mean, you said it. The reaction itself just shows you how much it meant to him, and in my personal opinion, was one of the highlights of the night for me.
It was a fantastic moment for sure, and you're right. There's going to be no rush to get him in that lineup. They're a veteran team, of course, and he will just be around the team. He'll be around the nest officially. He doesn't have to sneak in or get himself a ticket now, which is really cool. But tell us a little bit about just getting back in there and how exciting of an inaugural season it was there in Halifax. Because, I'm still buzzing a little bit. It's been, 6 months now or so since we've last been in there. But what a start on the East Coast for the National Lacrosse League.
I mean, with the exception of COVID-19 putting the season on halt, I think it was a storybook season for the Halifax Thunderbirds. And it started with day one when Kurt Stiers and the entire Halifax Thunderbirds staff canoed down Six Nations and the Grand River and ended up falling in Halifax in the harbor, and then go on to the next event, which was the orange and purple game, the inter squad game, where the arena was fully packed. And it just seemed like every game more and more momentum was built. And not only did they create fans and buzz around the season, but these were diehard fans. They're rocking purple and orange Halifax gear head to toe, whether you're in the arena, you're in the concourse, or you're walking around Halifax in the downtown core. These people just completely opened their arms and accepted this Thunderbirds team. And I know I've mentioned it multiple times, especially on that broadcast. I cannot wait to get back inside the nest, because it's so disappointing that there wasn't a finish to the storybook ending. There wasn't a championship. There wasn't, a loss in the playoffs. So you couldn't really get closure on the season. So that makes it all the more difficult to kind of, put a bow on this season. You don't know what could have happened. And in my personal opinion, I think the T-Birds had a legitimate chance at being a title contender and winning a championship and bringing home a title to Nova Scotia in their first season. I mean, if you couldn't write it any better. So the storybook ending is going to have to wait till next year. And I truly believe #unfinished business. It's not just a hashtag. It's a lifestyle for these guys and for these fan bases.
Very exciting. And you mentioned the guys they've added as well. This team has just gotten better, including re-signing Captain Halifax himself, Cody Jamieson.
Absolutely. You re-sign a couple of big pieces. You bring in a guy like David Brock, a defender who's got a lot of years in this league, but he's aging like fine wine. You bring in Steph LeBlanc, a guy who lives in Nova Scotia, so a guy that has his roots, his family's here, so he is committed to growing the game. And obviously he's a guy that still has a lot left in the tank, a power forward, a guy who put the ball in the net and loves to crash and bang. I know Cody Jamieson and Ryan Benesh are happy to have him on their side. So, and I mentioned Bell earlier as well too. So this is a team that is in win now mode. And why not? It's a new franchise, it's a new fan base. Why not get going and go out and win a championship and start this franchise on the right foot, which they totally have done.
Exciting stuff. I'm more pumped now after talking to you for the last 5 or 6 minutes.
Of course.
And ready to go whenever that may be. And certainly check out their website. Keep, Twitter, all that stuff. And we'll keep you informed as to what's going on. Patty, great to see you. Hopefully the next time we'll see you, it's going to be right there inside the nest. Enjoy the rest of the fall, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, man. Hopefully we chat soon, buddy.
All right. That's Pat Gregoire. I'm Pete Dalliday. You've been watching Q&A.